What's going on, everybody? Thank you again for joining the show. Welcome to James Pickin' Brains. One of the things that I get asked all the time, hey, James, can I pick your brain? So this is that chance for us to turn the tables, and we're doing the brain picking now. And I have a very special guest today, James Bawden of the Sales Developers. What's going on, my man?
James, I'm so happy to be here, man. Like we said before we hit record, it's been too long. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it was great. If you guys don't know James Bawden hosts a show called the Lunch Break Podcast. I've been a guest on the show telling some great sales stories. One of my favorite episodes I've ever done on any podcast was with James Bawden. So make sure you connect with him, follow him, like his stuff. The things that this guy says, frontline stuff. You definitely need to hear it. All right, man, we're going to get into it. There's just a couple quick questions. Think fast. Don't overthink these. Here we go. Routine is important for every sales professional. Tell me what your average day looks like.
Yeah, so for me, it starts about 6:30 in the morning. I get up and I've been up for maybe an hour, check the email, and then I send out the daily schedule. So I run a client SDR team, right? So each SDR is calling for different clients every day. And so in the morning, it's me reaching out to each rep and saying, hey, here's the plan for the day. Here's what the objectives, all that good stuff. So that's a really good start to my day because it kind of, hey, getting the message out of what we need to accomplish. And then from there, it's typically a mess sometimes of getting kids to school and going here and going there. And then it's coming in and I do the same exact thing at the beginning of my day every day, which is go through priority follow-ups. So having those anchors of, hey, I'm going to send this communication early in the morning, and then by 9, I'm going to be getting after it, doing the priority follow-ups. Those anchors help me because I don't know about anybody else, but mornings aren't always the nice, peaceful, meditative time that we all want it to be. So I've found that those kind of two anchors work well for living amongst the chaos.
Yeah, I would agree. I love that answer. It's good. And I like the way you use the word anchor there. That's really important because people have to have that solid routine, whatever it might look like. And for some of us, our mornings are chaos, and that routine can't start until after that chaos subsides, especially if you're like us and you work from home a lot, right? You have to have that routine. All right, next question, buddy. I appreciate that answer. Salespeople historically struggle with work-life balance, and that's a huge buzzword in our space. People call bullshit on it. My boss, John Barrows, notorious for saying it's not a thing. People think it's a thing because we construct it that way in our minds, and there are other ways to look at your work and your life in a way that is much more productive. Tell me what your thoughts are around the concept of work-life balance.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, and I can only speak from my own personal experience, it's been a struggle to feel like I'm filling all of the right buckets all of the time, the personal, the relationships, the children, the work. So it has been a struggle for me. The one thing that I will say is that the more that I started to think about them as not separate, but more of just part of one whole,
right?
That's helped. And also, I believe, the folks that I look to that seem to have it down and aren't struggling with that work-life balance have fantastic communication with their inner circle, like their personal friends, their family, their spouses, their children. They all understand the mission and they understand why you have to spend X amount of time doing this, but it feeds into it this way, right? And so I think that helps. I'm not there yet personally, but I've identified that as a way to kind of melt away some of that struggle that I've dealt with. So I would agree. I don't think it's a thing. I just think it's something that you need to be extra open with your communication about how you're going to deal with it.
I love it, man. That's a good answer. I think we're finding that there's a lot of different answers to that one particular question, and I think that's a good thing because there's so many different ways to look at that concept overall. All right, man, let's move on. Next question. Every sales leader has a style. You are Director of Client SDR at the Sales Developers. What do you think your leadership style is like? Sum it up for me real small.
Yeah, I'm going to avoid the term servant leadership. Because I feel like I didn't even know what that was until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Straight up. But what I identified early in managers that were great to me as a rep were they were compassionate, they were empathetic, and they saw me as more than a number. They saw me as a human. They got to know me as a human. And
Yeah.
the only LinkedIn article I've ever written is about emotional support for salespeople. How important it is to support people emotionally at work,
Yeah.
not just let me support you to make sure you book more meetings. So for me, it's always about how can I support this person, right? So if rep A is dealing with like real life personal issues, I want to know about it, not because I'm nosy, but so I can support them in the appropriate way, right?
Yeah.
You don't got to tell me everything. Just let me know you're struggling. And that's going to be my first priority, is to take care of you as a person. So I think empathy and compassion are at the top of my list for how I try to do my leadership thing.
Yeah, empathy and compassion. I think those are important pieces for leaders. I have a friend, my friend James Shand, will always say there's a difference between being a leader and being in charge. And empathy and compassion fit into the leadership role, not necessarily in the in charge role. So I really like how you put that. All right, man. Next question. Everybody climbs the big ladder a little bit different. How'd you get this job?
Look, yeah, I think my ladder climbing has been quite probably more a mixture of like rock climbing and ladder climbing. Look, I spent the first 6 of my years in an industry, wireless retail, that I figured out I didn't want to be a part of. I didn't want to continue to move up in. So I made a pivot kind of late in my career. I didn't get involved with B2B inside sales until my late 20s. And I'll tell you, the way that I broke into a new industry, the way that I found my first inside sales job, and the way that I found this job was through content creation and being active on social media. I got my first inside sales job from a YouTube video that the VP of sales saw, and previously wouldn't have given me the time of day because I had only ever sold cell phones, but he saw me and he saw my energy, got the job.
It's beautiful.
The job I had before the sales developers, they shut down the sales department within 48 hours because of my work and building my personal brand on LinkedIn. I had a job.
Yeah,
So that's how.
Building a personal brand has always been a focus for me, and you and I have talked about that ad nauseum. All right, man, great answer. I love that, and having that personal brand really strong there. Final question to you. Everybody has somebody that has influenced them in some way. Call them a thought leader, a mentor, an influencer, whatever fancy buzzword label that you want to stick on it. Who are the people that influenced you?
Yeah, look, from afar, in the virtual mentor category, Victor Antonio was one of the first people that I found that was a sales trainer that was making content. They had YouTube videos. So when I began my kind of journey of self-development and professional development, he was one of the first people I found, and I've continued to listen to his content. He produces a great podcast. He's written fantastic books, and was actually lucky enough to have him on the podcast last season for the season finale. So that was a huge kind of bucket list thing for me.
Yeah.
Huge mentor for me. And then some folks that through, again, building my personal brand and being on LinkedIn, folks like Mark Bodner. He lives in Raleigh here. We've met up, and he's just such a genuine guy and somebody that I look to. Seth Weinstock is another person that if anytime I need something, need advice, he's there for me. And I'd have to say Morgan. Morgan was somebody who really kind of helped me figure out how I was going to continue to build my personal brand. So right off the top of my head, those would be the folks that have had a really big impact on my journey.
That's a great list, and big shout out to Morgan. Him and I have started working together now, and I can't tell you how pleased I am to be able to sit next to that dude at a table and talk about what we're so passionate about. And you really get to feel his electricity when you're standing in front of him. So big, great list right there of 4. I want to thank you for coming on the show, but before I let you go, tell everybody how they can reach you.
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, James Bawden. You can find the Lunch Break podcast on any podcasting platforms. Just search it up and it'll be right there. Always happy to chop it up. You can come pick my brain anytime.
That's great, man. Thanks a lot. And everyone out there, Join me. Let's jump on the show. Tell me what you're about. This is that opportunity for me to pick your brain. Yes, I'm happy for you guys to reach out to me anytime and you can pick my brain, but I have my own questions and my own things that I like to know from you guys. And this is one of the examples of that. So James, thanks a lot for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Hit me up. You guys know what I say. Hashtag say what sales. If you're a salesperson,
we're the same person.
That's my dude. All right, man. We'll see you later.